Okay, so get this right. Today we are diving into some, well, some serious political intrigue.
Oh, intrigue.
Yeah, picture this, right?
Yeah.
Elon Musk, already a major player in U.S. politics,
Right.
potentially wading into the U.K. political scene.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking a possible, political earthquake.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to consider how someone with Musk's resources, and global influence, how he could impact another country's, political landscape.
Right. And the sources that we have on this are really buzzing about this story.
Why?
Articles from Le Journal du Dimanche, Tunisie Numérique, Frontier,
Let's see.
BBC,
Wow.
The Guardian, Le Figaro, JournalDuNet.com, and LBC. They are all over this developing story.
Yeah.
So, we're going to unpack what's really going on here.
Yeah.
Separate fact from speculation.
Of course.
And try to understand what this means for British politics.
Yeah, I mean, it's crucial to analyze these sources carefully, right? Considering, their different perspectives and potential biases and all that.
For sure. So let's get to the heart of it, all right?
Okay.
Multiple sources, including Le Figaro, The Telegraph, JournalDuNet.com, The Guardian, and LBC all suggest that Musk is considering a massive donation to Reform UK.
Right, Reform UK.
Yeah, a right-wing anti-immigration party led by Nigel Farage.
Yeah, the rumored amount is, get this, a staggering $100 million.
It's wild.
This would shatter all previous records for political donations in the UK.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And this isn't just some random speculation, right?
Right.
Farage himself has confirmed meeting with Musk at Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, Donald Trump's Florida estate.
Oh, wow.
And to add, even more fuel to this fire, Reform UK's billionaire treasurer Nick Candy was also there, as reported by The Guardian and LBC.
So this meeting, right, which was covered by major outlets like The Telegraph, BBC, The Guardian, has sparked a wave of speculation about a potential Musk-Farage alliance. Especially since Musk has also openly expressed support for Reform UK on X.
It definitely raises eyebrows.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to consider Musk's own, political views in the UK, right?
Right.
He's been openly critical of the Labour government and Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
Okay.
Le Journal du Dimanche even quotes him saying he sees the UK in great difficulty.
He's also, voiced concerns about a UK online safety law, which, according to The Telegraph, suggests a potential alignment with Reform UK's policies.
So it seems like there's some, common ground there.
Yeah.
But hold on, before we get carried away with this, potential flood of Musk's money into British politics, there is a legal hurdle to consider here.
Oh, right. Yes. Several sources, including The Telegraph, BBC, The Guardian, JournalDuNet.com, and Le Figaro, all point out that Musk, as an American citizen, can't directly donate to UK political parties.
So is this whole thing a pipe dream?
Well, not necessarily. There are potential workarounds. The Telegraph, BBC, and The Guardian, they all suggest that Musk could donate through, say, a UK-based company like X.
Ah, so there are ways to, navigate these legal complexities.
Indeed, and BBC even reported that Musk's own father suggested he might become a UK citizen to make the donation.
Really?
Yeah, so it seems there are options, even if they're a bit more intricate.
It sounds like Musk might need to get creative if he's serious about this.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about Reform UK.
Okay.
For those of us who don't follow UK politics religiously, what's the story with this party? So you mentioned they're anti-immigration, right?
Yes, that's it. Well, that's a key part of their platform, right?
Okay.
Reform UK is led by Nigel Farage, a prominent figure in the Brexit movement.
Okay.
They're considered right-wing.
Yeah.
With a strong emphasis on reducing immigration, as highlighted by Le Journal du Dimanche, Tunisie Numérique, and Le Figaro.
Reform UK being anti-immigration, while potentially being backed by Musk himself, an immigrant to the U.S., is quite, ironic, isn't it?
It's certainly an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Reform UK has gained significant traction since the 2024 general election. Polls from Tunisie Numérique even suggest they could become the second largest party, potentially surpassing the Conservatives.
So they're not just a fringe group.
No.
They have real potential to shake things up.
They do.
But let's address the elephant in the room here. Okay? What kind of impact could this rumored Musk donation have? We're talking $100 million.
Right.
That could completely change the game for Reform UK, right?
Absolutely. A donation of that magnitude could, well,
Yeah.
it could give them the resources to run large-scale campaigns, hire top strategists,
Right.
and really get their message out there.
Yeah.
It could significantly alter the balance of power in British politics.
We're potentially talking about a political earthquake here.
Yeah.
But it's not just about political maneuvering, is it? This could have, like, real consequences.
Right.
For people in the UK, what are some of the key areas where Reform UK's policies could have an impact if they gain more power?
Well, as we mentioned, immigration is a central focus for them. So if they have more influence, we could see, stricter border controls and maybe even changes to existing immigration laws.
And what about Musk's concerns about, online safety laws?
Yeah.
Could those become a point of focus for Reform UK as well?
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
If Musk is actively supporting the party, right, and has expressed concerns about those laws, it wouldn't be surprising to see Reform UK pushing for changes or advocating for a more hands-off approach to online content regulation.
So this isn't just a, hypothetical political game here.
No.
It could have real-world implications for people's lives.
Yeah.
From immigration policies to online freedoms, it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Definitely.
This story raises an important question, Could this be just the tip of the iceberg?
That's a question worth pondering. We're seeing a trend of wealthy individuals, especially in tech, becoming increasingly involved in politics.
Yeah.
Could this be a sign of things to come? Could we see a future where, I don't know, tech billionaires have a major say in how countries are run?
Yeah.
Not just in the U.S., but globally.
That's a thought-provoking and maybe even a little unsettling idea.
It is.
For now, we're left with a lot of questions and a whole lot of potential for things to get very interesting in UK politics, right?
Right.
We've laid out the key players, the major claims, and the potential ramifications.
Yep.
But we're not done yet.
Oh.
In part 2, we'll delve deeper into the history of Reform UK,
Okay.
their policies beyond immigration, and their chances of actually grabbing a larger share of power.
Right.
So stay tuned. Welcome back. Last time we were unpacking this kind of wild story about Elon Musk and, him potentially throwing his weight behind Reform UK.
Right.
It's a party that's, on the rise, but they haven't exactly been around forever.
No.
So to really grasp what's going on, we need to understand where they came from.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, Reform UK might be, relatively new to the scene.
Okay.
But their roots run pretty deep. They actually emerged from the Brexit Party.
Brexit Party.
Yeah, founded by Nigel Farage back in 2018.
Wow.
Their entire focus back then was, getting the UK out of the European Union.
Brexit. That feels like ages ago. I mean, it dominated headlines for years.
Yeah.
It was like a massive deal.
It certainly was. And the Brexit Party, they played a significant role in that. They actually won the most votes in the UK during the 2019 European Parliament elections.
Wow, really?
Yeah, proving they had, real momentum behind their push for Brexit.
So what happened to them after, Brexit actually happened?
Yeah.
Did they just kind of fade away?
Not quite. In 2021, they rebranded as Reform UK, broadening their focus to, reforming various aspects of, British politics and society.
So it's not just about Brexit anymore.
Yeah.
You mentioned they're, big on reducing immigration.
Right.
But what are some of their, other key policies?
Yeah.
What do they actually want to change?
Well, their platform is, it's multifaceted.
Right.
They're pushing for what they call a smaller, more efficient government.
Okay.
With reduced bureaucracy and lower taxes.
Mm.
They argue that this will, stimulate the economy and give individuals more freedom.
Sounds like a classic right-wing platform in many ways.
Yes, you could say that.
Yeah.
They also tend to be more socially conservative, opposing things like, what they perceive as woke culture and political correctness.
Right.
Arguing that these movements stifle free speech and create unnecessary division.
Again, that seems to align with some of Musk's own outspoken views, right?
Yeah.
He's been, critical of what he sees as censorship on social media platforms, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
It's interesting how, their views seem to dovetail in some ways.
It is, but it's important to, consider the practicality of Reform UK's proposals.
Yeah.
Some are quite radical, actually,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's debatable how much support they would have to implement them, even
Yeah.
if they, gain more seats in Parliament.
That's a good point. It's one thing to campaign on big ideas,
Yeah.
but quite another to turn them into reality.
For sure.
But let's say, for argument's sake,
Okay.
that Musk's money does give Reform UK the boost they need to become, a major political force. Like,
Yeah.
what would that mean for the UK? Could they really shake things up that much?
Well, it's a hypothetical scenario, of course. But, it's worth exploring.
Yeah.
If they were to become, say, the second largest party, right?
Okay.
As some polls suggest is possible,
Right.
their leverage to influence policy would be significant. They could potentially form coalitions, force compromises,
Yeah.
and generally shift the political landscape to the right.
And that could have a ripple effect across, like, British society, couldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking potential changes in immigration policy,
Right.
a smaller government, a different approach to online regulation,
Right.
even cultural shifts, if they successfully push back against what they see as, quote, woke ideology.
Precisely. Now, it's important to,
Yeah.
emphasize that this is all speculative.
Right.
We don't know if Musk will actually donate.
Right.
And even if he does, there's no guarantee it will translate into electoral success for Reform UK.
Right.
But the potential is there,
Yeah.
And the possible consequences are worth considering.
Okay, so we've got a party with bold ideas,
Right.
a charismatic leader,
Yeah.
and the potential financial backing of one of the wealthiest people on the planet. So
Yeah,
sounds like a recipe for disruption.
it does.
But we're not just talking about, like, abstract political games here.
Mhm.
This could have real-world consequences, right?
Absolutely. And to understand those consequences, we need to delve deeper into the policies themselves. For instance, their economic vision, which centers on deregulation and privatization, is quite contentious.
Okay.
While they argue it will boost the economy,
Right.
critics worry about potential negative social impacts.
That's an important point. It's not just about, economic growth.
Yeah.
It's about how that growth is, distributed.
Right.
And who benefits. Like, critics also argue that some of Reform UK's proposals, particularly those regarding social welfare programs,
Yeah.
could disproportionately impact vulnerable populations. So what's your take on that?
It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of debate about the role of government in providing a social safety net, right? And Reform UK clearly favors a more limited role.
Okay.
They argue that reducing government intervention fosters self-reliance and encourages private sector solutions.
Okay.
However, critics point to the potential for increased inequality and hardship for those who rely on government assistance. So
Yeah.
it's a delicate balance. And there are valid arguments on both sides.
So we're seeing a party that's advocating for a significant shift
Yeah.
in the UK's, social and economic landscape.
Right.
They're essentially challenging the status quo. But to really make those changes, they need the support of the people.
Yeah, they do.
So what's driving Reform UK's surge in popularity? Why are people drawn to their message? That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
There are a number of factors at play here.
Okay.
One is disillusionment with the status quo.
Many voters feel like the established parties, both Labour and Conservative,
Right.
haven't delivered on their promises. They're looking for an alternative, something that challenges the system.
And Reform UK, with their anti-establishment rhetoric
Yeah.
and their focus on issues like immigration, government spending, and cultural change,
Right.
seems to, tap into that sentiment.
Yeah.
They're providing a voice for people who feel unheard by the traditional parties.
Exactly. There's also, I think, a sense of anxiety
Yeah.
and even anger, among some segments of the population about issues like immigration, globalization, and the pace of, social and cultural change.
Yeah.
Reform UK provides a platform for those concerns, offering, seemingly simple solutions to complex problems.
So it's not just about, policy specifics.
Yeah.
It's also about tapping into a deeper sense of unease.
Yeah.
Or even, I don't know, fear that some people are feeling.
Absolutely. And in a time of, economic uncertainty and political turmoil,
Right.
those feelings can be potent motivators.
Yeah.
People are looking for someone to blame, someone to offer a sense of security and stability.
Right.
Reform UK, with their strong rhetoric and their focus on, taking back control,
Right.
appeals to that desire for certainty in an uncertain world.
And let's not forget the impact of Nigel Farage himself, right?
Yeah.
He's a skilled communicator.
He is.
And he knows how to connect with his base.
Yeah.
He's able to present, complex issues
Mm-hmm.
in a way that feels relatable and understandable.
Right.
Even if it means, simplifying things or
Yeah.
appealing to emotions rather than,
Right.
focusing on nuanced policy details.
He's mastered the art of the populist appeal. Right.
Yeah.
Identifying a problem, blaming it on another, and offering a, seemingly straightforward solution.
Yeah.
This approach can be very effective, especially when people are feeling, frustrated or ignored.
It seems like they've identified and are tapping into a very specific segment of the electorate,
Yeah.
people who feel disenfranchised and are looking for something different.
Right.
But can they really turn that into actual political power?
That's the $1 million question, or perhaps in this case, the $100 million question.
Right.
And that's something we'll explore in more detail in our next segment.
Okay.
We'll delve into Reform UK's electoral prospects, their strategy, and the potential challenges they face in actually transforming their vision into reality.
All right. Sounds good.
So stay tuned.
Welcome back. We've been, exploring this potential political bombshell,
Right.
Elon Musk, and his possible involvement with Reform UK.
Yeah.
Right? They've got, bold ideas, a leader with charisma, and now maybe the financial firepower to really make some noise. But the big question is, can they convert all of that into, actual political power?
That's the crux of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the answer is, more complicated than you might think.
Yeah.
The UK's political system, with its first-past-the-post electoral system,
Right.
makes it, particularly tough for smaller parties to break through.
You're talking about how, unlike, proportional representation,
Yeah.
a party's share of seats doesn't directly reflect their share of the vote.
Yeah, right.
They actually need to win in individual constituencies.
Yeah, so even if Reform UK gets a huge chunk of the vote nationwide, that doesn't guarantee them a ton of seats in Parliament.
Right.
They need to win in specific areas,
Right.
and that's a much, harder battle.
But they did win 5 seats in the last general election.
They did.
Isn't that a sign they're, gaining traction?
It is, but, 5 seats out of 650 is still a tiny fraction.
Yeah, true.
They're far from being a major force in Parliament,
Yeah.
and they've got, I think, some serious hurdles to overcome.
What are the biggest challenges standing in their way?
Well, one challenge is simply, expanding their base of support.
Right.
Right now, they seem to resonate most strongly with certain demographics,
Yeah.
older voters, those disillusioned with the major parties,
Right.
people particularly concerned about immigration.
Right.
To become a true powerhouse, they need to broaden their appeal and connect with a much wider range of voters.
So they need to convince those who are, on the fence,
Yeah.
maybe leaning towards other parties,
Right.
that Reform UK is the right choice.
Precisely. And that means, going beyond catchy slogans and sound bites.
Yeah.
They need to articulate a clear, compelling vision for the UK's future that resonates with a broader audience.
But their message seems, pretty clear, right?
Well,
Smaller government,
yeah.
stricter immigration, lower taxes, pushing back against, woke culture. Isn't that their whole platform?
Those are their core talking points, yes.
Yeah.
But to really, break through, they need to go deeper, I think.
Right.
They need to, flesh out those policies,
Right.
provide specific details, demonstrate how their ideas would actually work in practice.
So they need to show voters, they're not just about,
Right.
tearing things down,
Right.
but that they have a a for building something better.
Exactly. And that requires a level of sophistication and policy expertise that, they haven't always displayed. Another challenge they face is the perception that they're a single issue party.
You mean even though they've, rebranded as Reform UK and broadened their platform,
Right.
people still associate them primarily with Brexit.
Exactly. And while Brexit was, a defining issue for many voters,
Right.
it's not the only thing people care about.
Right.
To truly succeed, Reform UK needs to convince voters they have something to offer on a wider range of issues, from the economy and healthcare to education and the environment.
So they need to become a more, I guess, well-rounded party.
Yeah.
One that, addresses the everyday concerns of a wider swath of the population.
Precisely. And that, takes time, effort, and a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight.
And this is where the, the potential involvement of someone like Elon Musk gets really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right, because if he actually puts his money behind them, it could, give them a huge advantage in overcoming some of these challenges.
Absolutely. His financial backing would allow them to, hire top-notch campaign strategists, run sophisticated advertising campaigns, and amplify their message to a much larger audience.
It's like giving them a megaphone and a much bigger stage to share their ideas, right?
Exactly. But even with Musk's money, success isn't guaranteed.
Right.
In fact, such a large donation could backfire,
Oh, how so?
It could make the party appear, beholden to a single wealthy individual.
People might start to see them as a puppet for Musk's agenda.
Right.
Rather than a party truly representing the interests of, ordinary people.
Exactly. So even if Musk does jump on board, Reform UK still has a lot of work to do to convince voters, I think, that they're a viable alternative with a credible plan for the UK's future.
So it sounds like a steep climb, even with, a billionaire on their side.
It is.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What does all of this mean?
The key takeaway is this. I think British politics is at a crossroads.
Okay.
The established parties are facing, growing challenges.
Yeah.
And new forces are emerging, Reform UK being one of them.
Yeah. They're tapping into a wave of discontent.
Right.
And offering a vision for the future that, while controversial, clearly resonates with a growing segment of the population.
They're a party, built on challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
And with a, potential boost from someone like Elon Musk, they could be a real force to be reckoned with.
Exactly. Whether they can turn that potential into actual political power, though, remains to be seen.
Right.
They face an uphill battle, and even with Musk's help, it's far from, a sure thing.
But one thing's for sure, right?
Yeah.
This is a story worth watching.
Definitely.
The stakes are high.
Yeah.
And the outcome could, reshape the UK's political landscape for years to come.
And as we've discussed, this goes beyond the UK.
Right.
It speaks to broader trends, right? The growing influence of wealthy individuals in politics, the rise of populism,
and the challenges facing established political systems worldwide.
Yeah, it's a reminder that the rules of the game are changing, and the old ways of doing things may no longer apply.
Exactly.
So to our listeners, keep a close eye on this one.
Yeah.
Who knows what, twists and turns are coming next.
Yeah.
But sure to be a fascinating ride.
It is.
This is The Deep Dive. Signing off.